The planet Virilia was not a place for humans. Its skies were silver, its forests thick with glowing plants, and its people tall, sharp-eared, proud were warriors by birth. No outsider had ever been welcome there. Certainly not a human. But Captain Ryan Gray stood in the middle of a Virelian village, bleeding from his arm, surrounded by spears. He had crashed 3 days ago, his ship pulled into the atmosphere by a strange magnetic storm. Alone, wounded, and lost in thick jungle, he had expected death. What he hadn't expected was a war zone. The Virelians were in conflict with an enemy they called the Drakh creatures made of smoke and bone, who came from beneath the mountains. The Virelians fought bravely, but the Drakh were endless. Ryan had seen their attacks from the trees. He had watched a Virelian patrol get overwhelmed, and he had stepped in. With a broken rifle and a knife made from his ship scrap, Ryan had saved one of them. Now that warrior stood beside him, tall, blue-skinned, glowing tattoos curling down her arms. Her eyes were sharp like carved crystal. Her name was Valera, and she hadn't spoken much until now. "Why did you help us, human?" she asked in clear, firm words. Ryan wiped blood from his brow. "Because your soldier was dying. Because no one deserves to die like that. You are not one of us." "I know." She looked at him for a long moment, then gave a quiet nod. "They didn't kill him. They brought him to the village healer. That was 2 days ago. Now." Ryan sat inside a circular wooden hut, stitched and bandaged, trying to rest. But outside, the village buzzed with tension. The Drakh were gathering again. A final assault was coming. A knock sounded. He looked up. Valera stepped in, armored from neck to knees. Her braids were tight, her expression unreadable. "We fight at dawn," she said. "I'm ready," Ryan answered. "You are not Virelian. You have no duty to stay." Ryan stood. "I didn't come here to fight, but I'm already in the fire. I won't run." She stared at him. Then she opened a long wooden case. Inside lay a sword, not like anything he'd seen before. The blade was silver and curved, with strange glowing runes. Its handle was wrapped in old dark leather, worn from age. "This belonged to my father," Valera said. "He was a high blade. He died defending this land." Ryan said nothing. She held it out to him with both hands. "I have seen how you fight. Not just with strength, but with heart. My people will not accept you. But this sword will speak louder than their words." Ryan looked at the blade, stunned. I can't take this." "You must," she said. "Because tomorrow, many of us will die. And if we do, someone must carry what we were." He took the sword slowly. It was heavy, cold at first, then warm. "I'll honor it," he said softly. Valera nodded once and left without another word. That night, Ryan sat alone with the sword across his lap. He didn't sleep. He remembered his own father, an old soldier from Earth who never trusted aliens, who always said, "Out there you're on your own." But now, he wasn't alone. He looked up at the stars outside the window. And he knew. This wasn't about surviving anymore. It was about standing. Before dawn. The village was already awake. Torches lit the paths. Warriors prepared armor and checked their blades. Children were sent to the caves. The air was thick with the scent of smoke and fear. Ryan walked beside Valera, wearing light Virelian armor lent to him by a silent old smith. The sword she gave him hung from his back, too long for human balance but strangely familiar in his grip. "They'll come through the low mist," Valera said. "They always do before sunrise." "How many?" Ryan asked. "Too many." He nodded. No time to think, just act. They reached the outer ridge where sharp stone towers formed the last wall between the village and the wilds. Varelian scouts were posted here, silent as statues. Valera spoke to one of them in her native tongue. The scout's face tightened. Then he nodded. "What is it?" Ryan asked. "They've been spotted, moving fast, no sound, only the fog." The Drot didn't use ships, they didn't fire guns. They moved like ghosts, their bodies made of bone and black mist, and their hunger was endless. You didn't hear them coming. You just saw your friends fall. Ryan crouched behind a stone wall and adjusted the sword on his back. The village warriors readied their weapons. Then the mist came. It rolled in like a wave, slow, creeping, unnatural. And then came the shapes then. Tall figures with clawed limbs and glowing white eyes. Dozens. Then hundreds. Hold. Valera shouted. The Drak surged forward. The Varelians met them with blades and shields, shouting war cries into the fog. Rian leapt into the fight, slicing with a heavy sword. It cut through the mist like light through shadow, but the Drak didn't fall like normal creatures. When cut, they vanished into smoke, but more took their place. One slammed into Rian. From behind, he rolled and swung upward, cutting through it. Another grabbed his leg. Valera shot it with a spear just in time. They moved together. Two warriors from different worlds, now fighting like one. Screams echoed through the mist. Fires lit up the ridge. Some Varelians fell. Some pushed forward. But the line began to break. They're reaching the wall. Someone shouted. Rian saw it 5 Drak scaling the eastern side. He ran, sword raised, heart pounding. He swung again and again, pushing them back. But he slipped on blood, falling hard onto the stone. A Drak rose above him, claws raised. Then Valera was there. She drove her blade through its chest. It hissed and vanished. Ryan looked up at her. "You still standing?" she asked, just barely. They backed into the center together, surrounded now. The sword felt heavy in Ryan's hands. His arms ached. But still, he stood. Then something changed. The sky cracked. Not thunder, something deeper. A pulse of blue light rose behind the mountain. The Drak froze. Valera's eyes widened. A gate! They've opened it. What gate? Ryan asked. Their hive. Their origin. They only do it when they want to wipe everything. The Drak began retreating slowly, like being pulled back toward the mountains. It wasn't over. It was just the beginning. As the mist faded, the silence was sharp. Only the wounded moan now. Fires burned low. The village had survived for now. Back at the healer's tent, Ryan sat with bruised ribs and a swollen arm. Valera stood at the entrance, staring at the mountain peaks. "They'll come again," she said. This was a test. Ryan looked at the sword beside him. "Then we head back before they do." Valera turned, eyes narrowed. "You would lead warriors that are not yours?" "No," Ryan said. "But I'll fight beside them. I didn't ask for this war, but I'm part of it now." She stepped closer. Her voice was softer now. "My father gave that sword only to those he trusted beyond blood, and now it is in your hands. I didn't earn it yet." "No," she said, "but you will." Outside, the sky began to change color again. And for the first time, the Varelians weren't just preparing for defense. They were preparing to take the fight to the mountain. Asterisk. The next morning, the village was quiet, but it wasn't the silence of fear, it was the silence of focus. Warriors moved with purpose. Supplies were packed. Armor was checked. The elders had given their blessing. The fight was going to the Chila. Drak now, Rian stood by the outer wall, strapping on his armor. His ribs still ached, but the pain kept him sharp. He fastened the sword across his back, now more familiar in his grip. Valera approached, dressed in full battle gear. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with steady fire. Scouts confirmed their gate is open. It will stay that way for Only a short time. This is our chance. How many are going? Ryan asked. 30 warriors. That's all we can spare. The rest must protect the village in case we fail. He nodded. Then we don't fail. They moved through the jungle in silence, traveling light and fast. Varelians were natural hunters, and Ryan kept pace, using terrain and instinct. He noticed how they no longer questioned his presence. He had bled beside them. That was enough. By midday, they reached the edge of the mountain range. A strange energy hung in the air. The trees here were twisted, the rocks black and hot underfoot. The sound of insects was gone. No birds, no wind. Just quiet. Valera raised her hand, signaling a stop. Ahead, carved into the mountainside, was a wide arch glowing with dull blue light, the Drakh Gate. Ryan studied it. How do we shut it? We destroy the heartstone inside. My father tried once. He never returned. Then we finish what he started, Ryan said. The warriors drew blades and moved in formation, spreading along the rock. As they entered the gate, the air turned colder. Mist crept along the floor. The walls pulsed with soft blue veins of light. Inside, the tunnel opened into a wide chamber twisting bone-like pillars and black glass. And at the center stood the Heartstone, a floating crystal glowing with blue fire, surrounded by Drakh. Dozens of them. They hadn't seen the warriors yet. Valera looked at Ryan. He nodded. They charged. The battle exploded with noise and chaos. Blades clashed against claws. Spears flashed in the dark. The Heartstone pulsed brighter, almost alive. Ryan moved through the fight, cutting a path with the gifted sword. Each strike carved through the Drakh's smoke bodies like slicing water. With fire, they screamed as they fell, echoing like wind howls. Valera fought like a storm, fast, fierce, never stopping. She stayed close to Ryan, her movements precise, protecting his blind spots as he pushed forward. The Heartstone drew closer. But then, the ground shook. From the ceiling above, something huge dropped. A Drakh commander, twice the size of the others. Armor made of obsidian plates and glowing with black fire. It roared and knocked 3 Varelian warriors aside with a single blow. Ryan stepped forward. I've got it, he shouted. Valera's eyes widened. You'll die. Not today. He rushed the commander. It swung, and he ducked, sliding beneath the blow. He drove the sword into its leg, cutting deep. The creature screamed and struck back, knocking Ryan into a pillar. Pain exploded in his chest. But he forced himself up. The commander charged. Ryan sidestepped and stabbed the sword deep into the monster's chest. The blade glowed. The runes along its edge pulsed, like it remembered what it was made for. The Drakh commander exploded. Into ash. Silence fell. The path to the Heartstone was clear. Valera stepped up beside Ryan. Together, they lifted the sword, holding it between them. Then drove it into the crystal. The Heartstone cracked. Light spilled from within like lightning. The chamber shook. The Drakh screamed in unison, their bodies beginning to fade. We have to go. Valera shouted. The warriors ran, pulling the wounded. Rand stumbled, but Valera caught his arm and dragged him through the tunnel. Behind them, the Heartstone shattered completely. The gate collapsed with a thunderous roar. They emerged into sunlight as the mountain groaned and split. The entrance now buried under falling rock. Ryan collapsed on the ground, coughing hard, soaked in sweat and blood. Valera knelt beside him, breathing heavily. It's done, he said. She looked at the sword, now dim but whole. It has served again. He looked at her. So have you. They had struck deep into the enemy's heart, but something in the shadows still watched, and the war was not yet over. The sun was red when they returned. Smoke hung over the village. Not thick like from battle, but sharp and bitter, like warning. The villagers stood in silence. The children were hidden again. Warriors paced the walls. Valera stepped forward, frowning. Something is wrong. Ryan followed her, limping slightly but still on his feet. He gripped the sword loosely. His arm was bandaged, his face bruised. But he was alive, and so were most of the 30 who had entered the drop gate. The village elder came forward, robes fluttering in the dry wind. "You destroyed the gate," the elder said. Ryan nodded. The heartstone shattered. "Then," explained the sky. Everyone looked up. A strange pulse spread across the clouds, dark veins streaking the sky like cracks in glass. The wind carried a sound like distant whispers. Valera's expression changed. "They've awakened something." Ryan narrowed his eyes. "I thought the gate was their source." "It was just one," she said. "A forward nest." "Then?" "What's this?" She didn't answer. She walked straight to the sacred fire in the center of the village, knelt before it, and pressed her hand to the flame. It shimmered, responding to her blood. The flames turned violet. Everyone stepped back. Valera's voice was steady. "The prophecy speaks of the blade return. When the blood of a foreigner touches the sacred sword, it will awaken the last gate." Rayan stared at her. "What prophecy?" "My father never believed it," she whispered, "but I think the sword you carry is more than just steel. It was forged by our ancestors with fire from the stars. It binds to purpose. It responds to heart." He stepped forward. "And now it's bound to me?" She looked at him slowly. "It chose you. And in doing so, it awakened them." The villagers began to murmur. Some looked afraid. Others looked ready. The elder nodded. "Then the final battle is coming. And the sword must lead us there." That night, the warriors gathered in the sacred circle. Ryan sat beside Valera, silent. He didn't feel like a leader. He felt like a soldier barely holding together. But they didn't see that. They saw the one who returned from the Drak gate. The one who held the glowing sword of their greatest warrior. Valera stood and raised her hand. "This is not his war, but he fights it. He bled for us. He saved my life. He did not ask for our trust, but he has earned it." She turned toward Ryan. "He carries my father's blade not as a trophy, but as a bond. And now we must follow it to the end." One of the younger warriors stood. "We don't even know where the last gate is." Valera answered, "We don't have to. The sword will show us." Ryan looked at the blade resting beside him. The runes had begun to glow again, softly pulsing like a heartbeat. He picked it up, and as he did, a vision flashed behind his eyes: distant black hills, glowing cracks in the earth, and something massive sleeping beneath the surface. He dropped the sword, gasping. Valera knelt beside him. "What did you see?" he told them. The elder stepped forward. "The old one said the world beneath the black expanse was cursed. Now we know it was waiting." Ryan looked up. "Then we go there." "You're sure?" Valera asked. "I didn't come here for war. I didn't come here for a sword. But it's in my hands now. I finish what your father started." She stared at him for a long moment, then nodded. The warriors made ready again. This time, not just 30. Almost the entire fighting force of the village. Elders prayed. Children offered gift stones, feathers, simple tokens of hope. Before they left, Valera entered her father's shrine one last time. She placed her hand on the wall where his armor was still kept. "I will honor you," she whispered. Outside, Ryan waited. When she stepped beside him, he didn't ask what she said. He just said, "Let's end this." And together, under a burning sky, they began the march to the final gate. The journey to the Black Expanse took 3 days. They marched through thick jungle, crossed deep ravines, and climbed over black stone hills that felt colder with each step. The land had changed. It was no longer alive. Even the air was thinner. Here, The ground cracked and nothing grew. The Varelian warriors moved in silence, their eyes focused, their weapons ready. Rian led them, sword in hand, its glow guiding the way. The runes on the blade pulsed stronger as they neared their destination, as if the weapon was waking up, remembering what it was made for. Valera stayed close to Rian, saying little. Her face was hard, her thoughts deeper than ever. She had trained her whole life to protect her people. Now she walked beside an off-world human, following a blade her father once carried, and she wasn't afraid. They reached the edge of the expanse at nightfall. The ground ahead stretched flat and black like cooled lava, smooth and cracked with glowing red lines. Lightning crawled through the clouds above. No stars, no wind. Just an endless hum in the earth, as if something massive was breathing below. At the center of it stood the last gate. Twice the size of the first one, darker, twisting. Pillars circled it like claws. A red sphere pulsed in the center, floating silently. The warriors set camp behind the ridge. No fires, no noise. They waited. Rian stood at the edge staring at the gate. Valera walked beside him. You saw this place in your vision. He nodded. And something more. What? There's something under it. Not like the others. Bigger. Older. She looked at him. You think it's the real source? I think it's what the Drakh have been protecting. Valera tightened her grip on her spear. Then we break it. The next morning they moved. 30 warriors approached the gate. Slowly. The others stayed hidden, ready to strike when needed. As they neared, the sphere pulsed. The ground opened. And they rose. Hundreds of Drakh, more than any had seen, crawled from the cracks, like smoke with claws. Their eyes glowed white. Their forms shifted like liquid shadow. But this time, they didn't attack right away. They waited. Then the ground behind the gate cracked apart, and it appeared. The Ancient One. It stood 3 stories tall. Its body, made of bone and obsidian, a cloak of living mist around it. Its face was hollow, a black skull with eyes that burned red. It had no voice, but when it raised its arms, every warrior felt it. Fear. Ryan single quotes S grip tightened on the sword. Valera stepped forward. If we fall here, they will reach the stars. Rian raised the blade, which now burned with bright silver light. Then we don't fall. The battle began. The Drakh swarmed. The Varelians fought with fury. Blades spun, spears pierced. The sky turned red from heat and smoke. Rian charged the front line, sword swinging with deadly precision. Each strike burned through the creatures. They hissed and shattered. Valera fought at his side, every move matched, every block answered. Together they were like fire and stone. But the Ancient One moved toward the gate, hands outstretched. Drawing power from the sphere, Rian saw it and ran toward him. The creature raised one arm, slamming the ground. The blast threw Rian into the rocks. His sword skidded away, stopping near the sphere. Valera screamed. Rushing to him. The Ancient One stepped closer to the sphere, drawing energy into its chest. Rian reached for the sword, but his hand bled. Too much. His arm wouldn't move. Valera grabbed the sword instead. The runes lit up. The blade responded to her, just as it had to him. She turned, and she ran straight at the Ancient One. With a cry that echoed across the battlefield, she leapt, driving the sword into the creature's chest. It howled a horrible, breaking sound that tore through the sky. The red sphere shattered. And the Ancient One fell. The Drakh screamed and began to melt, dissolving into the ground, vanishing into smoke. Silence. Then cheers. The gate cracked and collapsed. The expanse trembled and then went still. Rian stumbled forward, blood on his face. Valera stood in the ashes, sword still in hand, breathing hard. He reached her, and she turned. She handed the sword back to him. It's yours, she said. But it was always ours. He took it with both hands, nodding. And for the first time, there was peace.